Senate Finance Committee will come to order. Members, we've got 3 amendments before us. Senator Limmer, if you would like to just give us a preamble before we start and how we got to 3 amendments to finish this bill.
Madam Chair, as we left prior to the recess, we were waiting for 3 amendments. As you know, and as the public may not know, we're getting aid from the leadership of both the House and the Senate in putting this entire bill in an acceptable form. And we have 3 amendments that reflect the direction that the leadership would want to go. And I would ask you to introduce the A2 amendment, and then I'll have, I believe, either Mr. Turner or Mr. Backus explain the amendment.
Super. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, I'd offer the A2 amendment.
Senator Ingebrigtsen moves the A2 amendment. Who would like to go first? Mr. Backus or Mr. Turner?
Madam Chair, I can do it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Backus.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So I'll just go through the A2 amendment. Basically, the A2 amendment makes a number of technical changes that just needed to be done to the bill, and then a few substantive changes that House and Senate leadership have agreed to. So first, I'll just go through it issue by issue. Lines 1.3 to 1.4, this makes changes the forfeiture appropriation rider to conform to the spreadsheet. Lines 1.5 to 1.18, the main thing that does is it deletes the body camera appropriation and rider in the bill. And then it makes a number of corresponding changes to the total amounts within the Department of Public Safety that need to be made to reflect that. And then some technical conforming changes. One important thing here is it does leave $500,000 each year, so $1 million total unspent off the bottom line by deleting the body camera appropriation. Continuing then, lines 1.19 to 1.20, what this does is in the bill for the Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement and Office of Justice Programs divisions within the Department of Public Safety, the bill has cancellations in that. This makes those cancellations effective essentially retroactively from June 30th, 2021. The important thing there is that these cancellations need to be made in fiscal year 21, and this accomplishes that. Line 1.21 to 1.28 adds a new section to the bill. This was a House-only provision from Conference Committee, and it's now being added, and it provides that each petroleum refinery operating in the state has to maintain or contract for a full-time paid on-site fire department. So again, that's being added there. Line 1.29 to 2.2, there's a provision in the bill that requires the Commissioner of Labor and Industry to waive certain aspects of the building code for tribal buildings when there's a conflict between the building code and the tribe's religious beliefs. These changes here were requested by the Commissioner to streamline the process and were approved by the stakeholders. Continuing then, line 2.3, this relates to the felony murder task force that was discussed earlier. It deletes a sentence in the bill that says that essentially no members of the task force can have unduly strong preconceived beliefs on felony murder. That sentence is being deleted. Next, lines 2.4 to 2.6. This change relates to the first-degree assault of peace officers and other criminal justice partners. It simply titles that provision in an uncodified section as Officer Eric Matson's Law. Line 2.7 deletes a section in the bill that required courts to have hearings related to indigency of criminal offenders. That provision was not part of the overall agreement and is being deleted now after negotiations. 2.8 to 2.9 makes a technical change to the forfeiture provision, which was suggested by the Department of Public Safety. Line 2.10 makes a technical change, corrects an incorrect subdivision reference. 2.11 to 3.24 adds into the bill the 2 Senate provisions on alternatives to incarceration, which should have been part of the original bill. It just got left out for some reason. So those 2 provisions are being added back. And then lines 3.26 to 4.4, basically this adds us a new article to clarify the effective dates should the bill be signed after June 30th. It's kind of a better safe than sorry provision. And that's the entire A2 amendment, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Backus. Any questions on the A2 amendment?
Madam Chair.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe you can help me with this. The 2.24, the Department of Corrections shall issue funding, number 160, to each recipient. That's recipients of, is it fair to say halfway houses or transitional housing from prison to that are on parole or probation?
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Backus.
Senator Ingebrigtsen, I'm not following. What lines are you referring
I'm
to?
sorry, Section 30. Section 30,
I think
I'm
I can
sorry.
answer that question.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Turner, thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senator Ingebrigtsen. That has to do with the Alternatives Incarceration Pilot Program. Right now, we have one program up and running in Anoka, and this creates, and that's funded at base funding of $160,000. This just says that the other 2 new programs that are funded by this line receive $160,000. And I think one's in Crow Wing, and I forget where the other one is.
So-
Yeah, the other 2 counties get $160,000, the same as Anoka.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
No, thanks.
Okay.
I'll follow up offline.
Senator Franson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, part of this amendment deletes language or just appropriation for body cameras, just the 1 million in both parts of the biennium, but it's not the entire appropriation, correct?
Mr. Backus.
Maybe I'll defer to Mr. Turner if he knows. I believe it deletes the House. It was a House-only provision initially that appropriated money for, body camera grants. There's still body camera money in the bill for, I believe it's Department of Public Safety and things like that. They'll still get the money, but this was a grant program for other law enforcement agencies. That's being deleted.
Is that good enough, Senator Franson? Okay. And Senator Kickmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that question as well. Question I do have, though, is on the beginning of the amendment, it looks like there's 500,000, a lot of places where at the same amount of 500,000. Could you just explain where it came from, which is fairly easy to tell, but where is it going to?
Mr. Turner or
Mr.
Mr.
Turner.
Backus?
I'll take that, Madam Chair.
Mr. Turner.
That $500,000 each year is being deducted from the totals. And so in the bill, we have a total for the Department of Public Safety, which has got to be deducted from that total. We have a total for Office of Justice programs in the bill. It has to be deducted from that total. And then it has the appropriation itself, which is $500,000 each year is for body cams for local law enforcement agencies. That's being deleted. So when you delete the rider, it rolls up through the totals. It looks ominous, but it's just technical.
Okay, great, thank you. Only our staff, Madam Chair, could
Senator Kickmeyer.
do that explanation and say it's just technical and we can all trust it.
Yeah, okay. Senator Limmer, you had your hand up. Any thoughts, sir?
No, ma'am. I was just stretching.
Okay. All right, then Senator Ingebrigtsen, we're going to take a vote, members, renews his motion on the A2 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted.
Madam Chair, I have another amendment.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
I offer the A3 amendment.
Senator Ingebrigtsen moves the A3 amendment. Senator Limmer, or who would like to take that one?
Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, I would expect Mr. Backus to explain this.
Okay, Mr. Backus.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and members. This amendment relates to the innovation and community safety grants that are in the bill. And under the current language of the bill, it basically provides that these local community groups can pretty much direct the Commissioner of Public Safety on how to allocate the grants and how to spend the money, which is kind of atypical. What this does is it makes their role advisory. So the commissioner would have to consult with them, but ultimately the decisions on the grants is for the Commissioner of Public Safety to make.
Any questions on the A3 amendment? Senator Franzen, any thoughts? This was, I think, something that you were concerned about.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But does not include any additional funding, it just changes the mechanics of how the grants are being dispersed or assessed before they're being dispersed, correct?
Madam Chair.
Senator Limmer.
Senator Franzen, yes, I believe so. I do want to point out, though, that the governor in his executive order today allocated $15 million to community innovation grants. And so we're grateful for that.
Senator Franzen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Limmer. That's good news to hear. I wasn't sure if it was the same program as the language used in the press release, but it's good to hear. And then the only outstanding issue here is whether it's sustainable, but I guess we'll have to see if they make it to your budget in a couple years.
Yeah.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, thank you. Senator Limmer, a question I have is that this new money that's going to be allocated, staff said that it was rather unusual the way it's going to be spent. It's going to be spent on the advice of the people that are applying for the money. Is that correct? From the commissioner?
Senator Limmer.
Thank you. Yes, there was a concern about how it was being spent. I believe Mr. Turner could maybe explain that better than I can.
Mr. Turner.
Madam Chair, I defer to Council Backus on that one.
Mr. Backus. Get them all.
Yeah, I mean, Madam Chair, members, I don't want to make any type of really value judgment here. It's just that the current language of the bill basically provides that these community grant advisory boards have a role of reviewing grant applications and then directing the commissioner to award grants to approved applicants pursuant, to the language. So, the Senate had a concern with that. So this basically makes their recommendations just completely advisory. The commissioner would, of course, listen to them, but ultimately it's up to the commissioner how to award grants.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on the A3 amendment? Okay, members, we're going to take a vote. Senator Ingebrigtsen renews his motion on the A3 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The A3 is adopted. One more amendment, Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, I offer the A4 amendment.
Senator Ingebrigtsen moves the A4 amendment, and Mr. Backus.
Madam Chair, this is essentially a companion change to a change you've made already in the A2 amendment. In the A2 amendment, if you remember, we talked about there was a provision that required the Department of Labor and Industry to waive the building codes for tribes where there's a conflict with tribal beliefs. This makes the corresponding change that was already made in a companion piece that has to do with fire codes. So it's basically the same amendment applying to fire codes.
Okay, any questions on the A4 amendment?
Madam Chair, I might be able to
Senator
make a
Limmer?
little bit more explanation. Some of our Indian communities wish to make historically accurate structures, and of course, they wouldn't satisfy a building or a fire code. Perhaps replicas of a lodge or other types of Indian structures that were, reflective of Native American culture, and they would be barred from that construction if they had to satisfy current building codes and fire codes. So we're making an exclusion in this regard for them.
Understandable. Okay. Thank you, Senator Limmer. All right. We're going to take a vote. Senator Ingebrigtsen renews his motion on the A4 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The A4 is adopted. Okay, we have the bill before us as amended. Senator Limmer, final comments.
Well, Madam Chair and members, I probably have talked enough about it. But nevertheless, I know that some of the members feel that we could have done more. Some believe we could have spent more. And yet our limitations on budgets restrict us in some ways. And nevertheless, we are moving the ball forward. We're trying to keep the balance between effective law enforcement, especially during a time of epidemic crime happening in the state, and at the same time recognizing some of the reform that's needed in our law enforcement community. In some ways, it's not enough on both sides of the aisle, but it is a product of compromise, and it's a product of divided government. And so, Madam Chair, I present it for your approval.
Thank you, Senator Limmer. I should have asked you all if there was any questions, comments that you'd like to make before his comments. Anybody? Okay, Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, I move Senate File 7 be passed as amended and we refer to general orders.
Okay. On that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
No.
Nay.
The motion prevails. Senate File 7 as amended is placed on general orders. Okay, members. With that, we are done for today, and all we have is taxes, which has not been posted yet in tax committee. So we've got some work still to do, and planning on seeing that bill in front of this committee. With that, stay tuned, and Senate Finance Committee is adjourned.